Changing the opacity in Ibis Paint X on Windows 10 is actually way more intuitive than most people think. It's just hidden in that classic way art apps love doing, behind 100 nested menus that feel designed to test your patience. First step, open your work in Ibis Paint X. This sounds obvious, but you wouldn't believe how often people email asking why the opacity slider doesn't show up. Spoiler, it has to be inside a working Canvas session, not just from the home screen. You'll want to head straight to the Layers panel. It's on the far right side. Icon looks like a stack of pancakes. Click it, and you'll see all your current layers. This is where people mess up their edits thinking it's a brightness control. It's not. Now, to change the opacity, click the layer you want to adjust. Once selected, look toward the bottom of that little layer window. There's a bar labeled opacity with a percentage listed. This is your golden slider. Adjusting it is just a click and drag left or right. Left makes your layer more transparent, right makes it more solid. Super basic notion, but it has huge impact. Drop that text layer down to 50% opacity, and it suddenly blends with your background like a dream. A lot of artists use this for shading. You create a soft shadow layer in dark gray, pull the opacity down to like 20%, and boom, your work pops, without looking like you just brushed on a black blob of shame. Here's where the pain point kicks in. If you're working with a stylus and accidentally touch another UI element, it cancels the opacity drag. So pro tip, use a mouse when adjusting precision settings like this. It avoids the finger slip curse. Also worth noting, you can't change opacity of multiple layers at once. Yes, it's annoying. No, there's no workaround. You have to manually select each one. This becomes soul-crushing real fast when you're dealing with 19 different shading tracks. What I do, because I like things clean, is name all my layers with prefixes like BG, FX, or text. Then I control opacity based on those groups. Not automatic, but it allows me to work faster mentally, which matters when you're deep in a 5-hour drawing spiral. Something a lot of people don't know. When adding new layers, the default opacity is already set to 100%. So you'll want to keep an eye on that if you're layering subtle effects, because one overly opaque layer wrecks your whole depth setup. And this may sound like overkill, but keep a version stacked with duplicate layers at 100% opacity saved somewhere. If you go too far on reducing opacity and mess up, there's no dedicated opacity undo history. And that's where heartbreak starts. Final step, if you really want smooth blending, pair opacity changes with the Gaussian Blur filter. Drop the opacity, blur it slightly, and suddenly your lighting transitions feel like they came from a pro illustrator's vault. Small tweak, massive result. I've been using Ibis Paint X for a while now up in Portland, where the rain makes you draw for 8 hours straight without questioning your life choices. Once you harness opacity the right way, everything gets faster, cleaner, and way more professional.